Welcome back. I'm so glad you're here. I am Coach Julia, and today we are going to be doing Walley Jumps, but I will not be alone for this tutorial. I have a very special guest. You guys have seen him here before. Former Team USA member, now current Team Philippines skater. Please welcome Paolo Borromeo. Oh, I'm so excited to have you on for this one. I have never been good at Wallies. I worked so hard on them when I was younger, but I always could only get halfway around. You do them like it's nothing. So
took a little practice.
I'm sure it did.
Yeah.
Anything that you see a skater out doing that looks like it's nothing, it means they worked really hard on it to make it look that easy. What do they need to know how to do before they attempt a Wally? A couple of skills.
I think maybe two things that would really help would be first your power pulls, being able to do them well, especially on your right leg.
Backward power pulls.
Backward power pulls, yeah.
Backward power pulls.
And then also probably being able to do a single loop, because it's very similar to that. Different, but similar in terms of your snap. Okay. So those two things will help you a lot in terms of figuring out your Wally.
So I will put links to the backward power pulls and the full loop jump down below so you can brush up on those skills if you need to, but if you're already good at them, then we can get started. Let's see a Wally so that they know what we're doing.
Sure.
So before we get to Paolo's tips and tricks on how to do this Wally jump, let's talk about what exactly a Wally is. So a Wally is very similar to a loop jump, which is why you want to have learned it beforehand. So you want to have a good loop jump. So a loop and a Wally are similar, kind of how a Lutz and a flip are similar. So a loop is going to take off of your back outside edge. For me, that's my right back outside edge. Where a Wally is going to take off of my right back inside edge. So it's a change of edge. One is a loop, one is a Wally. Kind of like how a flip, the inside edge is a flip, the outside edge is a Lutz. So they're very similar, and therefore it can be a little bit difficult. They can kind of blur the ground between them. So a Wally, you're taking off of that inside edge, you're gonna push up through that toe, rotate one time, and then land on your back outside edge. If you're lefty, you're doing the opposite. You're on your left back inside edge. You're gonna jump up, rotate the same direction you normally do, and check out on your back outside edge. So you're jumping and landing on the same foot, just like a loop jump. Now there is a variation of a Wally that people use for warm-up exercises and that kind of thing, where they take off more on a flat or even an outside edge. People call it an outside edge Wally. It's kind of an exercise jump. The reason they call it a Wally is because your foot is behind on that takeoff instead of a front, like a nice proper loop. Now this isn't a true Wally. A true Wally takes off of the inside edge, whereas this outside edge Wally should have its own name, should be its own thing. People just call it an outside edge Wally because we need some kind of a name for it. That's going to be an outside edge, but your foot's behind, still kind of like a traditional Wally where your foot is behind on your takeoff. So just to clarify, a true classic Wally takes off of the inside edge with your foot a little bit out to the side or behind. A outside edge Wally would be outside edge.
We should call him David.
So we have a Wally on the inside, and apparently Devin says a David on the outside, which is a outside edge Wally. It's all right. Now you know what? We just got to go to Paolo because now all I can think about is Wallies and Davids. Talk us through an actual Wally.
Let's do it from the power pulls. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use my power pulls kind of like a preparation for my jump, almost like I'm doing my Wally but without jumping, and then letting myself kind of fly through it. So I'm gonna go outside, inside, outside, and pull up into the air and rotate, but basically doing that same pull and change from inside edge to outside edge. It's that same thing. You're just gonna jump on that change and let that Wally rotate around and then hopefully catch it.
So the Wally is meant to be taken off of back inside edge. Since you're rotating counterclockwise, you're doing it off of your right back inside edge. And then you're snapping counterclockwise just like you normally do. So you're rotated fully to your right, pressing into your right back inside edge, and then you are snapping and you're staying over your right side.
Yeah. So
snapping to your left.
Yeah, because a Walley is a really good tool to teach how to rotate in the air, because it won't work if you try to rotate like a lot of people do on not just Walleys but on their singles. They try to rotate by throwing themselves over to the left, right? If you want your Walley to work and your singles or doubles, you're gonna need to rotate and stay over the right side to be able to catch it and stay stabilized in the air. Otherwise, it's just gonna go sideways.
I guarantee you that is why I could not do a Walley when I was younger. I would set up, but then I'd snap and move away, and then I could only do a half rotation jump. So you want them to snap, but stay over that right side. So you got a really good snap staying there.
Yeah. Like every jump, you're gonna be riding off your edge and then finishing like right at the end on your toe, okay?
Just
so you're gonna
like
wanna build a little bit of power, yeah.
So a loop, you're doing the same thing on the outside edge. You're pressing through the edge and then rocking up at the last moment to the toe. Walley, you're doing the same thing, pressing into the edge and then launching up through your toe at the very last moment. Yeah. Excellent.
Okay, so as I said earlier, power pulls are very important to learning your Walleys, because if you can't do your power pull and stay over that right leg, especially as you change from inside to outside and stay very balanced and go fall out, your Walley is going to be very hard to do. Okay, but if you can do that, then the rotation becomes a lot simpler, because you're really just going to be strong over your right leg and go too deep and pull up and around to your Walley rotation.
And then we were chatting off camera a little bit a moment ago about, actually Devin was talking about whether or not this feels like a counter turn. And you were saying counter turn is more like a half Walley, but counters go off the heel versus a Walley needs to go up through that toe. And that push through the toe is incredibly important to make you have that little last bit of explosion.
You're gonna finish your rotation, finish your jump, instead of getting stuck, where a lot of people kind of tend to do. Yeah.
Now you had a couple of different Walley combos that you were talking about earlier. Do you want to talk to us about those?
Sure. I mean, when I would practice for my like jumps and rotations, actually for the most part I wouldn't do my inside edge Walleys. I would actually just go straight off an outside edge, and that same kind of motion where you pull together. Practice this to kind of help with all my rotations. Instead of really doing this is more like a transition jump for me, the inside edge Walley that I do here. I actually like taking it straighter to practice for my jumps and being able to combine like a bunch of Walleys together over that like right side. But it'll like train the same thing and being able to stay strong over this right side and maintain your position in the air and kind of flow through, whether you're doing your jumps or you're trying to do transitions or some cool trick as part of a program. Really, the main thing is being able to focus on snapping from your right leg alone, right? Without using any upper body motion or any even like edge, you just go up and snap, right?
So that exercise, would you do like a classic inside edge Walley to an outside, or would you just go outside, 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 outside? Kind of like a toeless toe loop.
Yeah, I would generally just go like outside, outside, and then even can practice using it for like toe combinations, do like Walley, Walley, toe combos. But sometimes I even do the inside edge Walley to practice toe combinations too, but I prefer the outside one for jump practice, for timing, right, and being a little bit like quicker. It is a little quicker than on the inside, right? But it's like for different purposes, and they look different, so you can use them for different things.
So you're using that more like a practice, a warm-up kind of a thing, to give yourself drills during a session. But if you were going to do a Walley jump in a competition, it's usually considered that inside edge Walley.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'm very excited that you've been able to give us some tips and tricks on Walleys. Now I want to see him do all the different variations that he knows. thank you so much for sharing all that knowledge with our YouTube audience today. I really appreciate it. Amazing springs in your legs for those jumps. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up, and of course, we're looking forward to reading all your comments in that section down below. If you haven't done so yet, then hit that subscribe button and the little notification bell down in the corner so you can see all my videos when they come out. Happy skating, and we'll see you next time.